Hey, everybody. Welcome to a new episode, a new series that we're going to be diving into regarding automation and holistic marketing. So, for the next few episodes, we're going to be diving in, answering some questions, and doing a deep dive into automation and holistic marketing systems and what we can do to improve those. First episode of the series, we're talking about just smarter automation. So, how do we get efficient without losing the human touch? How we can use automation to improve marketing, our sales, and our customer experiences without making it feel too robotic. So, the first question, Seth, is for you. Which repetitive marketing and sales tasks are ideal for automation in the first place?
Sure. Things like email sequences, lead scoring, re-engagement campaigns, drip campaigns, things with email, that's a good candidate for sure. Also things with content scheduling, like publishing posts on multiple platforms automatically at a set time of day, even recycling evergreen content, post it multiple times, right? Just to keep your socials active and the algorithm primed. Registration, reminders, post event follow up, things related to webinars, events, and things like that. Marketing and sales handoffs, anything where you collect information from marketing about the lead and then move it to sales. Maybe you pre-populate a deck or some sort of handoff material. That is a good that is something good to automate, as well as other tasks, right? With tools like Zapier and Make.com. And now with the addition of AI, you can do all sorts of automation, like taking meeting notes and providing action items for your sales reps, or even filling out customized pieces of the sales decks and proposals. So yeah, tons of things there.
Yeah, great, great. And when we're doing this, how do you avoid being too reliant on the automation, on these workflows? How do you do that without losing the personal connection with the leads and customers? How do you balance that human side and automation side?
Yeah, you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, for sure. You need to blend it with the human touch that you add to your venture, right? I mean, you wouldn't delegate certain things to an assistant. I always tell people use your workflow with a bit of touch of AI because AI makes decisions for you, but it's just treated as any other assistant that you're onboarding into a role or your company, right? I mean, just delegate the first steps to filter it out exactly to you and what would you actually take on any client interaction, right? So more than anything, just don't over automate processes because it takes away the empathy that makes a business or a leader, right? I mean, just try to automate whatever you would delegate to an assistant that you're hiring, right? Or an assistant that you're trying to recruit for a certain effort, right? And definitely don't copy and paste, make it very intentional, right? I mean, there's certain workflows that work for certain requests, certain cases, and it also challenges founders and companies to know about themselves and learn about themselves, right? And it's not only the qualitative data, it's not only the quantitative data, it's the qualitative data, behavior and whatnot. So as you learn from our ICP, you can then learn how to route it to an automated system that can make your life easier. Because workflows at the end of the day is just make your client experience better, make their lives easier, but also make your lives easier as a business, right? You're still operating a business, wearing a bunch of hats. So also look at from your perspective as to what would I have to have contact with in terms of client, interaction. And I would just divide and conquer with the automation. I would never put it all on an automation for sure.
Everyone's talking about automation these days, but automation is only as effective as the strategy behind it. At O8, we are experts at designing and implementing automation that's built uniquely for your organization. Whether it's streamlining marketing and sales processes, improving customer experiences, or optimizing operations, we eliminate inefficiencies. Curious how smarter automation can grow your bottom line? Check us out at o8.agency, where you can book a free strategy call with one of our experts today.
Yeah, I like the term automate tasks, not relationships, right? Like focus on automating things that can be repetitive, but not that human interactive side. Um, Data entry, scheduling, lead scoring, follow up reminders are great. But the human element is really, really important there. People want to interact and hear from people, not from robots. So yeah, I totally agree. What are the biggest risks of over automation? How do we fall into those, and then how do you avoid them? How can we avoid over automation?
Yeah, I think going back to what I said, right? I mean, over automating takes away empathy, which then influences emotion, which is what drives decision making in a bunch of industries, and most of them, and mostly when it's heavy industries, right? Like healthcare, luxury, retail, right? So I think that's the biggest downfall of like over automating. What you could do to avoid it though, and like learn more about what you can automate and whatnot. Again, challenge yourself to learn more about your ICP and your clients. So definitely try to teach the workflow. When I say teach the workflow, you can add AI to it and it becomes better over time. Models are becoming smarter by the day. So models are also learning how to become better and learn better about your own situation, your own environment based on behavioral data. I know we're accustomed to, again, the numbers, and the numbers are exact. And like, that's actually what's going to get me there. No, a lot of this is driven by emotion and behavior. So learn about behavioral data. How can you do that? Measure the type of keywords that you get most often, the kind of cases you get the most often, and then train the model to have some sort of, not a script, but treat it with a sort of empathy that you would treat the situation, but always write it to a human. How do you do that? UI. People are very visual and more now with everything that's coming out, and attention span is really short. So always try to rewrite to a human in some sort of UI, either it's at the end of an email or as part of the chatbot. And I think that brings back the trust that they know people are becoming smarter, right? I mean, about recognizing an AI because it's very saturated. So if people know, just like try to make sure that, hey, I know, this is a robot, but you can still talk to a human. The robot is only going to take your request and rewrite it to the right human that's going to help you solve the exact problem that you have. I think that actually increases the trust because it's like, hey, it's learning from my issue, it's learning from historical data, but it's definitely going to get me to the person that's going to solve my issue. As a customer, that's what I want. And as I said, if a robot can help me with my problem, that's great because that makes it more efficient for both ends. But try to teach it how to learn from different problems so that you can rewrite it to the right person. If it can be fixed without a person, amazing. It's a win-win for everyone. But people at the end of the day, to talk about even orders, returns, money, which is something that people care about, it's an investment besides time, always reward it to a person, but what kind of person, right? So that's what I would say. I mean, always suggest, making things very clear to people. People are becoming smarter and recognizing these systems. It's just how do you stay ahead of that and make sure that they know that but you're also working towards making their experience less high touch with people as well, because it could take time. I mean, let's be honest, right? So how can you divide and conquer with automation? But don't overdo it to a point that it's a dead end. I find that a lot. I do chatbots a lot, and I have a bunch of issues with different types of situations. And at the end of the day, I always reach a dead end. When that end comes, stay one step ahead and try always to have a human behind it. And then as a founder and as a company, you're also challenged to really train your staff in, certain areas as well, right? I mean, you cannot be relying on AI or workflows if you don't really know what you're doing at a process level. So it makes you also have your process in place, right? So yeah, that's what I would say. For starters.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, when done well, it can make the experience more personalized, not less. But that requires a lot of intentionality and knowledge and testing things out and playing around with it for sure. No, that's great. All right. Yeah. So, how can automation help us speed up or make things more efficient when we're nurturing a client into a lead into a client? How can that help speed things along?
Yeah. Again, it's a situation where maybe if they're really high intent, a human intervention might be more appropriate. But in general, it helps us create content for each stage of the customer journey and faster response times, right? Like automation can help with an instant reply through an email autoresponder, or even, if you hook AI up to your contact us form and craft a response or at least a draft that a sales rep could send really quickly, that helps personalize and automate those kind of responses. Social media, landing pages, all of these things can be done faster, including replies. Scalability, handling large volume of interactions simultaneously. support, for example, chatbots, ensuring efficiency even as the business grows. So that's something, scalability is definitely something important to keep in mind.
Yeah. Great. Great. All right. Then wrapping up, what are the best metrics for measuring automation's impact on our sales pipelines and our conversion rates? How can we measure that automation's impact there?
So I would say it's about the sales cycle or your conversion rate or your cost per acquisition. You should actually start just by mapping out your entire sales cycle from attract to closed, especially since marketing has become so omni-channel. And if you're just starting out, I would much rather you map it out and then you would build everything and then run it. If you are getting more leads than your team can handle or your pipeline's picking up, I think that's when you start implementing automation. And then from there, to be able to measure how automation is doing for your sales cycle, your conversion rate, or your CPA is you split test it. So you would run separate, separate campaigns. You would run separate, ads, whatever it might be. Bring them to a different landing page, and you split test this so you can determine what you are currently doing. Is the automation doing better? Is it helping the team? I think with automation and AI, it should be an asset to your current team. It shouldn't replace them. In some cases, it might in the future, but for the vast majority of business, especially the ones that we work with, it is built in as an asset. And you look at time needed to complete something. You look at the entire sales cycle. Like if it's 6 months, is there a way for us to bring it down to even 5.5 months? What does that look like to our conversion rate? What does it look for our cost per acquisition? And you take all these things and you start having this recurring cycle of analyzing the data. And again, if there's more people on your team, then it's more time involved. So you take all those things combined, the cost is people, the software, the ads, you have the sales cost, you have commission, and you kind of like match all of those business numbers with the marketing and sales. And that's how you can really determine if automation is actually helping your entire system or not.
Perfect. Well, thank you for that, everybody. And thank you to those following along, watching or listening. Next week, we're going to dive into AI-powered personalization and how automation can improve our engagement and conversions, and dive in there. So thank you for following along, and we'll see you soon.